Hey, what's up, guys? This is Nikki, and you are listening to Evolution by Nikki on Spotify. First of all, guys, I want to apologize for not being able to upload this morning at 6. That is my intention every Monday and Friday. However, today with the snow and the kids not having school and needing to get to work, earlier, I just wasn't able to make my own 6 o'clock deadline, so I apologize for that. I also would like to begin this episode a little differently. I had a lot of anxiety while I was preparing for this episode. I typed everything out. I typed all my main ideas out, and I did it yesterday morning, and my whole day was screwed up yesterday because I just had such anxiety about recording myself saying this and essentially putting it out there to the world to potentially be judged. I know that that's a possibility. I know not everyone is gonna, get down with the vibe that I'm going for here. I know not everyone is going to be happy with what I have to say or agree with what I say or do or have done. But I think we all have a fear of being judged in a negative light. And so I just had tremendous anxiety, and I still do, about what I'm about to say. I also would like to just acknowledge my family. I had alluded to some things I was going to talk about in a teaser post. I did a sneak peek. And I'm going to share that with you now. So to my family, what I'm about to say is going to shock a lot of people. I want to apologize in advance for any of the pain or sadness that this next statement is going to cause. But it is a part of my story, and it needs to be said. And I promise I will try not to cry or get emotional. I can't guarantee that that's going to be the case. So, again, this is episode 3, Mommy Issues. In this episode, I am going to go through the first thing that I processed and tell you about the instantaneous flashbacks that I get. I have been diagnosed with CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and that is something that does affect people specifically who have suffered trauma during childhood. If they're diagnosed later on in life, typically it'll be CPTSD. I'm not really sure what the clinical difference is, but you could look that up yourself if you'd like. But I have very intense, vivid flashbacks regularly. There are triggers all around me, and most of the time, I don't even know that something is a trigger until it's too late. And I'll give an example about triggers in the future, but right now I just want to kind of get into what I processed. So the first thing that I processed in IOP was the fact that my life was not in fact all rainbows and unicorns like I had been trying to convince myself it was. I tried to pretend that all of the things that were going on were normal and okay. And like I said in the last episode, I took all those memories, I took all those bad things, and I put them in a box and I shoved them in the closet, and I tried to move on with my life. But you can't do that. What I realized was that my mother was not my hero. She was my Achilles heel. I had such a blind spot when it came to my mother. I was insanely loyal. You can ask anyone. Loyal to a fault when it came to her. And she knew that. She knew that I was completely reliant on her and no one else. My parents divorced when I was very young, and my mom was the sole custodial parent. I actually don't even know how old I was when they got divorced. I have probably 3 memories of my father living with us, and those are like still shots in my mind. I can see them just as if they were pictures in front of me, and it's literally just a moment in time that I remember. I don't have any like video memories, which is really sad. Really sad. And 2 out of those 3 memories are not pleasant. My parents fell in love and wanted to have a baby more than anything. But I've never seen 2 people more wrong for each other in my entire life. And unfortunately, I always felt like I was the product of a doomed relationship and kind of more excess baggage than a child to love. I felt more like an inconvenience and an annoyance than anything. My mom was definitely a narcissist and a gaslighter, but I fucking love the shit out of that woman. You could not turn me against her if you had a gun to my head. But she knew what she was doing. She knew that I had no one else but her. When I was little, things were, dare I say, great. But what was going on behind the scenes wasn't okay. My mom was a hairdresser, as I had said in episode 2, and she was truly talented. But she never made enough money to support us. When I was 10, we had to move out of my childhood home in Bayonne on Avenue E. And the landlord had raised the rent. It was, I want to say, $665 at the time, which I know sounds crazy because it's friggin' like $1,500 to $2,000 to live in an apartment in Bayonne these days. But we paid $655. And she raised it, so we had to move because we couldn't afford it anymore. My mom was very bad with money. She did not know what a budget was. It didn't exist to her. She would borrow money from literally anyone. Anyone. But usually men. So anyone who knows me since I was little probably does already know my mom. My mom was a huge flirt, and men flocked to her on the regular. Like, she got hit on all the time. 5'5", blonde hair, blue eyes, nice body. Like, she got hit on all the time. And she used it to her advantage because she would literally manipulate them to get money out of them. And I've seen it, I can't even tell you how many times, because I was basically like her wing woman, I was like kind of like an accessory that she paraded around. But sometimes the men would be friends. Sometimes they would be loan sharks. Few mobsters in there, and some drug dealers. These people would all show up to my house unannounced when my mom couldn't repay them, and they would demand money. And I would be there listening, hearing it all, and they would basically tell her, like, you need to pay or else, kind of. And having someone show up at your door when you're maybe like 10 years old, you don't know nothing about nothing, but some guy is at your door, demanding money, saying you owe him or else. I didn't know what the fuck to do. It was a scary fucking feeling. I can't, I don't know. I don't even have anything else to say about it. I don't even have any more words because it was just not okay. I had no idea what any of these people were capable of, but my mom was 100% okay with what she was doing, the risk involved, and what I was witnessing. Now, this part is the part that I apologized in advance for. So I'm going to say it again for anyone who wasn't listening or needs a reminder. What I'm about to say is going to shock a lot of people. And to my family, I want to apologize in advance for the pain that this next statement is going to cause. But it's part of my story, and it needs to be told. My mom used to order Zima from the local liquor store on the weekends. She was very close with the owner, Mike, and the delivery driver. I saw these guys every week. On a Friday, she would call, she would order for a delivery, she'd get her pack of Newports and her Zima and our UTZ brand potato chips, and we would hang out. And like I said, I knew these guys. I saw them frequently. They knew me. They knew our situation. They knew our financial situation. They knew my mom. They knew she was a flirt because she would flirt with them when they went in. She would flirt with them, during delivery, and even more. The delivery guy would come over, and they would go into my mom's room, and they would shut the door. I lost track of how long exactly they were in there because I didn't think anything of it at the time. But when they came out, his hair would be messy and he'd be all disheveled. Now, I'm not one to speculate, but I think we can all agree on what was happening in that room. This went on for years, and with different men. My theory is that when she couldn't pay the men back, that was her method of repayment. So, if you're asking me to say it, I guess I'll say it. She was basically prostituting herself. She would always date men who were well off. Sometimes they were even married. She actually introduced me to her lover's whole family, wife, and kids. He invited my mom and I over to swim with him and his entire fucking family in their family home in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Him and my mom sat there and actually pretended like they weren't fucking sleeping together. It was disgusting. Now that I've had time to process what had happened, and I really thought about how fucked up that situation was, I am goddamn embarrassed for her. Shit, I'm embarrassed for my damn self. Perhaps the thing that stuck with me the most, though, was when she would get mad at me, which was often. She would scream and curse at me, and I can't even tell you how many times I heard, "You're just like your fucking father. You ruin everything." Eventually, I really did believe that. I had no self-worth, no confidence, and no one to tell me that that wasn't the truth. From the time my parents split to the moment she died, all she tried to do was brainwash me against my father. She would tell me the most horrible things about him. Now listen, no one's perfect, and I know my father's flaws, but what she was doing was straight manipulation, and it was wrong. She used me as a weapon against my father my entire life. She wouldn't let me see him or speak to him unless he was up to date on his child support. When he was late, she would put me on the phone with him and have me demand the money. He would come to my house and try to pick me up to go to his house for the weekend. And I'd be sitting in the lobby or the vestibule of my old apartment, and I would have my suitcase and my dolls, and she would come down and she would tell me that he canceled on me because he was with his new family. She would tell me that he loved them more and chose them over us. The real truth was that she had filed a restraining order against him and had him thrown in jail on his fucking birthday. Therefore, he was not allowed to be within 300 feet of me or her or our property. Unfortunately, this restraining order was in effect until I acted on her behalf when she died. I went to court and spoke to the judge in support of dropping the restraining order against my father. For the first time in my life, I saw my father relieved. You could tell that this had been weighing on him for years. I was happy to be able to help, to put those years behind him and move forward. Thank you guys so much for listening today. I really appreciate it. And episode 4 will be launching on Monday at 6 a.m. and I will meet the deadline this time. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.